Hello everybody, this is Rosalind and welcome again to another episode of Facebook Live Fridays here at the Conscious CEO Experience community. So I'm here at Steveston Park actually in Richmond. Happy Passover to all my Jewish friends and happy, actually it's not too happy at the moment, but I would say blessed Good Friday to all of my Christian friends. And I believe it was just a Persian New Year. Hi Ashley, it was just a Persian New Year a number of weeks ago, so spring has definitely sprung, and I'm really looking forward to doing more of these Facebook Lives outside. Time to get a really sturdy tripod or something to hold my phone up as I'm doing these nature videos. And just really so excited about the topic today. You know, as I was thinking about what I want to talk about today, still, you know, we're in the month of March, which is the theme is still conscious sales. And what really came up for me was this idea of spring cleaning your network. Now, if you have read or attended any of personal development seminars or any wealth or business building workshops, you may have heard of the expression, your net worth is, no, that's the reverse. Your network is your net worth. So when we're building business and trying to really build our wealth through that, really important to consider, you know, who you're surrounded by, right? And, you know, this is not a video about mindset per se. That's a completely different video. But really in terms of sales, it's also really important to consider, okay, who is in my network and who could I possibly build relationships with? So the building relationships piece I've spoken about extensively at my workshops and in previous videos. And in this video, because it's just been feeling so springy lately and very happy that the weather is really nice today, I thought I'd share with you why it's important to spring clean your network, as well as some tips on how to do that. So spring's traditionally the time when, you know, people, animals, even plants come out of this sleep and rest and hibernation mode, and we want to lift our faces to the sun and see what's going on in the world, you know. And most of us tend to also want to get out more, spend more time outside, and maybe see our friends that we haven't seen in a while because we've been cocooning in the winter and it's cold and dreary and wet. So and it's also typically the time when we feel like, oh, you know, like it's time to really spring clean our environment. So our homes and offices, we have this urge to kind of clear out the old and bring in the new, just because spring is a wonderful time. There's this energy of renewal, you know, interestingly coinciding with Easter time in the Christian tradition. And renewal really is about, you know, letting go of whatever we were carrying from the past months, the past year, and opening up space for new things, new opportunities, and of course, maybe even new money to come into your life. And so, you know, people spring clean their homes, we spring clean our homes, and spring's also typically the time when we do these health detoxes, right? So for those of you health junkies out there, very, very popular to do detoxes of our bodies. And I just started thinking, well, a number of years ago, I thought, well, you know, if we're spring cleaning our homes and we're spring cleaning our bodies, we really, you know, why not spring clean our network, right? If our network is our net worth, then, you know, it can start to develop certain qualities and characteristics that would happen with our bodies in our homes. So, you know, we accumulate contacts, we meet people and maybe add them to our LinkedIn or Facebook. We add them to our phones and maybe work on a project and we meet a bunch of people and they've been great and it's been 6 years since we were in touch with them, right? So we start to develop these cobwebs in our network, and with no judgment on your part, we don't really have the time and the energy and the capacity to keep in touch with everybody in our network. I actually heard recently that the average business person has about 200 to 1,000 contacts in their network. So if you've been in business for a while, that's probably the amount of people that you have in your network. And if you're someone who's a leader and influencer, you probably have way more. If you're someone who is a CEO or a founder and your company is very outward oriented, so you're in the public eye a lot, you probably have more in your circle, right? So and rather than leaving some of these contacts that are likely creating cobwebs in your network, you kind of get this feeling, I don't know if you've experienced this, but from time to time in my experience, about every couple of years or so, I get the feeling that I have some people in my community, in my business network, that I haven't been in touch with for a while, and I wonder how they're doing, and they kind of come to mind, and during those times, I try to reach out to them. And then other times, I was looking at my LinkedIn network a number of weeks ago, and there's people in there that I've added 7 years ago or even 5 years ago that I've been in touch with perhaps a couple of times, and that is all. And so you want your network, social network, so whether it's primarily, I would say, your LinkedIn and your Facebook, because those are the two platforms that businesses use most frequently. And you want to start looking at your networks as an investment, right? An investment of time and relationships. And when you start viewing your network as an investment, then you want to look at, how is it doing? Like, how is it faring? If you use the analogy, actually, I'm going to use the analogy of a garden, right? So when you first meet someone, you might plant a seed, you might go for a coffee or something, and you may not know what kind of relationship you will have, but that's a seed that's planted. But if you've planted a seed for a number of years and it's not really doing anything, maybe there's been a few seasons that have passed, and snow has come and rain has come, pour down on your seed, and maybe it's growing a little bit, but you haven't really nurtured it, then you may have a lot of sort of like half-baked or half-grown sort of plants, not really fully grown trees in your garden. So really, really important to consider who is around you and how can you nurture those seeds so that they become full-grown trees or ferns or whatever kind of plants that they happen to be. So that's pretty much big why in terms of why you want to spring clean your social network, right? And I mean, the other obvious piece is simply, the quality of network is the quality of your net worth, right? So getting on to some tips. By the way, I'm really lucky that it's fairly quiet here today, and you can see there's people walking around behind me. So getting on to the tips, and these tips really are not cut and dry. They're simply guidelines for you to come up with your own process. Everybody has their own process. First and foremost, tip number 1 is simply to set a powerful intention. So ask yourself why you want to spring clean your social network. Maybe you are starting a new project. Maybe, you're feeling like, if you're an executive, you're feeling like, I'm really wanting a change, this leadership career, feeling burnt out, and maybe looking for a change. So I want to start restart reconnecting with some people that I know and share with them, what's going on with me and find out what's going on with them. So it could be a career move that's prompting you to want to be in touch with your network again. Ideally, you'd be in constant connection with everyone in your network, but really, in reality, that type of perfection, cultivation of relationship, that doesn't exist. And so whatever the reason it is that you want to spring clean your network, I just recommend that you create a powerful intention. So an example and intention that I set for myself very recently was a very simple something like, please, show me in a clear and, in a way that I can understand which people in my network are aligned with the goals that I've set for myself in the next few years. It doesn't have to be in the next 10 years. It could be just in the next few years. And help me be clear regarding who also is aligned with the values that I now stand for. So we all change as leaders and as entrepreneurs, as people who are running companies. Maybe your company values has changed. So who now are aligned with your values, your current values, and also who is essentially someone who, for me, this is important. So there's that loyalty piece. So show me who in my network who has been loyal and has, planted some other seeds with you, right? And so those are some powerful intentions to set. And then once you've set that intention, you want to go out then and set a time during which you want to do the spring clean. So the spring clean doesn't happen overnight, even though for some of us, if we're spring cleaning our home, for example, you might do a blitz over the weekend, spring clean, and have it be done. But for most of us, the spring cleaning takes time. And I recommend, take about a month to really approach your network with this intention, right? And so whenever you have you're emailing, or some of us are subscribed to newsletters, apply the same intention to the newsletters that you receive, right? It's just still aligned with who I am now, what I'm building in my business, and where I'm going, right? So create that time frame, but don't let it drag on, because then you no longer have that container to be intentional, right? Most of us, as much as we like to be 100% conscious, we're not, right? So after you set intention and you set the time frame, then you want to start to whatever method works for you. You want to start looking at every single person in your network. So it might sound crazy. If you have, say, 1,000 people in your network, then it might take you some time to get through them. But yeah, definitely do a comb through. Okay, and when you're doing a comb through, you want to ask yourself some powerful questions. It could be related to your attention, or it could be related to the goals you're reaching, right? So for example, if you're in a business and you're wanting to explore a new market, right? Let's say you're going to India, for example, right? You want to take your business to India. Then you want to ask yourself the question, can this individual, help me move my vision or goal forward, right? And then conversely, do I have something to offer this individual? Am I curious enough about how they're doing? Because, if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes we have people in networks that we actually don't care. We don't care, like 5 years in or 7 years in, especially if you haven't been in touch for a while. They might have meant something to you at some point in the past, and you might have been grateful for that connection, whatever it was. There is a saying, you already are familiar with it, possibly, people are in our lives for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. So they may have been in your life, in your business for a season, and it's totally fine. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to sort of, be nice and, keep people in our networks when maybe it's no longer aligned and it's no longer for both your highest good. So truly ask yourself, has this person been of value over the last 5 years? And you can set a timeline for yourself as well. So for me, it's 5 years, but for you, maybe it's shorter. Maybe it's 3 years, and for others, it might be 7 years, right? Have I had communication with this person in the last 5 years, right? And if you've only had, say, 2 or 3 forms of communication, and if it's mostly been by like simple text, or maybe not even, maybe just, likes on your social media or something. This doesn't apply to if you're an influencer and you have followers. I'm talking about your core network, okay? So if it's light connection like that, then you want to ask yourself, do I, in my gut, in my heart, still feel connected to this person? And you will feel it. So don't try to figure out in your head. Right? So a lot of this is not about trying to justify, oh, well, this person. I remember when I was spring cleaning one time, and I had this high power individual in my network, and I thought, oh, well, this person can open so many doors for me, and they could introduce me to so-and-so and so-and-so, and it was like a big name. This person was tied to the rich dad, poor dad, sort of empire, and this woman had also, I'd met her a few times, and she was on my LinkedIn, and she had actually reached out to me a few times over the years. Okay, so I've had this person for 5 years, and every time she reached out to me, it was some kind of promotion, and I thought, great, maybe I read a little bit of what she was promoting, but the quality connection just wasn't there. It wasn't there in terms of building that relationship. So do you have people in your network who, when they reach out to you, all they do is they're promoting to you, right? So you don't want people like that in your network. You want people with whom you have mutually beneficial relationship, consistent communication. So even if it is just a couple times a year, about quality communication and connection, and you feel like you genuinely care for them as an individual and what's going on in their business and a career, and vice versa, right? So if you have people who don't meet that criteria, then it's probably wise to let them go. So really tune into your gut and your heart, as opposed to try and justify other reasons why you may want to keep them in your network. Really, really important to be kind of almost like samurai. Oh, I didn't realize I'm using data. I just got a note that my connection might be unstable. So it's difficult to guess when you're near the water, I guess. So difficult to rely on data connection. So as I was saying, really important to almost apply like a samurai mentality to this, as in like your sword, and you're cutting these connections, but with like honor, right? So don't, if you feel like, sending a note saying, hey, it's been great, but see you later, like I don't feel this is fruitful, then that's fine. But most of the time you don't need to. You don't really need to. And for those with whom the answers are more of a yes, and you feel like a pull, and you really, you really feel like you want to reach out and reconnect, then go ahead and do that. Send them a short note and go ahead and reconnect. And my recommendation is actually use spring clean once every quarter if you can. And if you don't want to do it that frequently, you can do it twice a year. At the very least, I'd say once every 2 years. So spring clean your network with frequency and sort of honesty and integrity that makes you feel like, I'm surrounded by amazing, inspiring, growth-oriented, mutually beneficial relationships that I feel great supporting and that I feel supported by. There's nothing worse than having what I call dead meat in your network, people who just are in there, but really you don't, there's no life to it, there's no vibrancy to that connection. So take responsibility for who you have in your network, because we become who we're surrounded by, right? We are influenced by a network and vice versa. So you want people who are going to inspire you, that are going to lift you up, and that you're happy to have around. Makes sense, right? So that's about all I have today with regard to spring cleaning your network. And I'm actually really enjoying doing this Facebook Live outside. I'll do more of those if you're liking the view and a little bit of bird song coming through. Hopefully you can hear it. So just a quick announcement before I wrap this up. Next month, which will be in a few days, for the month of April, the theme will be leadership, power, and influence. And I'm so excited to be launching some new offerings and essentially 3.0 of version of my website. And I'm gonna be inviting everybody to not only the webinars that I already do, but a couple of virtual meetings that I know you will love, that I've been wanting to do for a while. So stay tuned for that in the coming week. I'll be sending out some invitations for that. And until then, I know it's a holiday, so you can watch this replay later if you're not on just this moment. I want to thank Ashley for joining us. Some of you met Ashley. And just have, I remember when I was growing up, my dad, who's CEO of his own company, this is considered Holy Week time, right? Kind of the weeks, the days leading up to Easter. And I remember Holy Week, it's supposed to be a holiday, and yet he would still be bogged down by a lot of administration and, still be working. And Holy Week for him was to do bookkeeping. Thank God I don't like bookkeeping, so I'm not doing my own bookkeeping. But really, it is the holidays, so take time off this weekend to connect with your faith, spirituality, whatever it is, your sense of, being part of something larger, as well as spend time with your friends and family, because, there's nothing else more important, more than money. It's the people that we love that create meaning and joy in our lives. So go have a vacation, and I will see you next Friday with a brand new theme. And we'll see you at our workshops and at our future events. Bye for now.